Okay. Okay, well, we will get started. And if anybody trickles in, I will just admit them, and it's fine that they join a little bit late. So let me get this on presentation mode here. Okay. All right, everybody should be able to see my screen. If you cannot, speak up or send a message in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to assume you guys can see everything. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how to lose weight without doing hours of cardio. Joe just joined as well. Okay, so, oops. Okay, so this workshop is definitely associated with the challenge. Hopefully all of you guys have signed up for our monthly challenge, and this month's challenge is I would walk 100 miles, which probably sounds like a lot, but we did the math. And if you do the math, it breaks down to only about 7,000 steps per day, which is actually should be really doable. It might require a little bit of intention, but it really shouldn't be too time consuming or feel like a huge burden. You just gotta, at times when you might be able to be walking when you normally would have just been sitting around, I would say just get up and walk around, and you should probably be able to get to your 7,000 steps. But we'll talk about some more tricks to fitting that in a bit. Everybody should have gotten an email related to this challenge. If you have not, check your junk. And if you check your junk and you still don't see it, let me know. You can just message me in the chat and we'll make sure that you get the email. There should be an email going out, I think weekly, during the month of March related to this challenge. And so as part of the challenge, besides the actual walking piece, we are asking that you guys participate in our weekly poll and our selfie challenge in the Facebook group. We are going to be giving away some swag there. And then for everybody who meets their goal, you're going to be entered in a drawing at the end of the month, and we will draw for a winner to get a $100 Visa gift card. So that is really just a high level overview of our March challenge. All right, so before we really get into this, and I need to figure out how to move you guys so I can see the whole screen. Okay, I want to tell very briefly about just Couture Fitness and my credentials and my business partner's credentials. So I am a certified sports nutritionist, and my business partner, Joe, is a certified life coach. Both of us have been amateur fitness competitors for quite a while. I did my first competition 15 years ago. I'm not currently competing. I have no desire to right now, but I won't say that I'll never ever do it again. And we learned a lot through that sport. We learned some really bad ways to get in shape. I won't get into too much detail on that here, but I had some really, really bad, dangerous, I would say, coaches when I first started out, and they really messed up my hormones and my metabolism to where I actually didn't even have a period for 2 years, had to do fertility medicine to even get pregnant. And so during that time, I started obsessively researching metabolic health, hormonal health, how to get in shape without, doing these dangerous things to your body. And then we learned so much. Joe had a similar but less extreme story. I mean, she tried lots of different diets, ate really low calorie for many years, did a lot of cardio, trained for some half marathons, and just she didn't see the results she wanted. And I know it can be really frustrating when you feel like you're working hard, you're eating really well, and your body just doesn't reflect what you feel like you're doing. And we've seen so many other women who have gone down the same path. And it's really why we wanted to start this business. We focus very much on metabolic health. And we like to say that we made a lot of mistakes so that hopefully we can prevent you all from making the same ones. And we just wanted to bring everything that we learned to other women. We don't want anybody to have to go down the path that we went down. Okay, so let's get into, can I lose weight without doing cardio? First of all, you can see my first point there is yes, with some exclamation points. I would say a very resounding yes, you do not need to do any cardio to lose weight. I would actually prefer that somebody loses weight without really doing cardio. Your body adapts really quickly to cardio, which we'll get into more in a bit. And it's really what we would call the last lever that we pull to try to help somebody lose weight. I would rather do a lot of other things before I would tell somebody, okay, jump on a cardio machine and do 30 minutes of cardio every day. That would be the last thing I would want somebody to do. Most of our clients actually do not do any what people think of as traditional cardio. We like to give people a step goal similar to this challenge. And so I would say, I don't know, probably 75% of our clients, if I had to guess, are not doing any cardio besides trying to hit a daily step goal. And how they get to that step goal is really up to them. I mean, I assume most people are walking. I like to play tennis. That gets my steps up really high, really quickly. That's a super fun way to get my steps in. So that part is really up to you. But that's really what most of our clients are doing. The most important thing for weight loss is being in a calorie deficit, without a doubt. And whether you use cardio to help achieve that deficit, it doesn't really matter. I would prefer to do it all with food. But yeah, the calorie deficit is the most important factor. You do not need to be doing any cardio to lose weight. That's in summary. And so there's some pictures of me. You can see they're on the left. That was really at the height of all of my issues. I had competed two years in a row, just before that. And I had to get really, really extreme with how little I was eating and how much cardio I was doing in order to get in shape for my competitions. And it really caused my body to rebound really badly afterwards. And so you can see I'm not eating that much. I'm doing a lot of cardio. I was probably doing cardio 6 days a week, I would say. Some of it was really intense. And then I was also lifting weights 4 days a week. And I remember just being so frustrated because I was like, my body's not reflecting all the work I'm putting in. And that was right around the time when I started to learn, sometimes less is better. Sometimes more is not good for your body. And so the picture on the right, that is me at almost age 40. That's me right now. I'm eating much, much more. It says 2,000 calories. I'm actually eating more than that right now. Probably more like 2,200 calories. I'm doing very little cardio. I basically don't do any traditional cardio. I just hit my step goal, which for me, I try to get in 10,000 steps a day. I don't do any HIIT cardio. I actually have some knee problems, so I really can't do any HIIT cardio right now. And then I lift really heavy, probably a lot heavier now than I was in the picture on the left. But I lift 4 days a week. And so I am maintaining right there 117 pounds. That's still about what I weigh. And now I'm actually even eating more than in that picture. And it's a much happier place to be. I can tell you that. And I definitely feel like I look more in shape now than I did back then when I was working out more. And if you guys have any questions throughout this, just jump in. Okay, so let's talk now about NEAT, because we use this term quite a bit in our social media and on our blog and in our podcast. NEAT is it stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And really it's just an acronym for any movement that you get in your day that's not formal exercise. So if you go to the gym and say, I'm going to take a dance aerobics class, or I'm going to get on the elliptical, or I'm going to lift some weights, that's not NEAT. That is you very intentionally going to work out. NEAT is really just all of the other stuff that you do where you're probably not even thinking about burning calories or getting a workout. So that might be just taking an after dinner walk with your family. It can be cleaning your house. I actually can get a ton of steps when I'm just picking up my kids' junk from all over the house. Just playing with your kids at the park, anything that is movement. And I know I've kind of blocked over here. I'll see if I can move this. Maybe I can't. There we go. And it's not stressful to your body the way strenuous cardio is. A lot of cardio can actually have the opposite effect that you want it to, as you could see by the pictures of myself that I showed you. So that is why we like our clients to focus more on NEAT than we do on traditional cardio. Okay, so how do I track my NEAT? If you're participating in this challenge, I'm sure you figured this part out by now. You've probably got some sort of a step counter to track how many steps you're getting. I actually just here's mine. It's like $30 off of Amazon. It doesn't do anything fancy. It tracks my steps, and that's pretty much it. But you don't need to buy anything fancy or expensive to track your steps. 30 minutes of walking is about 3,500 steps. It can definitely be more if you're pushing yourself, for sure. But that was kind of a conservative estimate that Joe and I came up with. So you can really get all of your steps in for the day. If you went for a 60-minute walk, you should be done. Usually though, if you do maybe 30 minutes of walking, intentional walking, you're probably going to get your other 3,500 steps just from doing your everyday things, whether that's walking around your house, walking to the bathroom, walking from your car into a store, that's usually going to be able to add up. Unless you're really sedentary, you'll probably be able to get the other 3,500 steps just from, living your normal life. Besides walking, there's a lot of other things that I would say can definitely qualify as neat or just gentle activity. So yoga, if you do 30 minutes of yoga, I would equate that to going for a 30-minute walk. So you could count that as your 3,500 steps. And I would say, just if you want to get started, just start tracking. You don't even need to set a goal. You can just start tracking your steps and see where you're at and just try to do a little bit more. So if you were, let's say you were pretty sedentary before, maybe getting 2,000 steps a day on average, even getting 5,000 a day is going to be a huge improvement from what you were doing. And I think the more you think about it, if you're tracking, you're just more likely to get more steps in anyway, just because you're aware of what you're doing. Okay, so the health benefits of getting in more activity, you're going to have more energy. And I know it may sound counterintuitive, but the more you lay around and be lazy, the more you feel like laying around. And that's actually something my dad used to tell me all the time when we were kids. Like if he would see us laying around watching TV, he would say, the more you lay around, the more you feel like laying around. And it's so true. The more active you are, the more active you want to continue to be. So it will give you more energy. Obviously heart health. I mean, sitting around all day, not moving is certainly not good for us. I think we all know that. You can also strengthen your muscles and your bones to some degree. I mean, obviously walking is going to be better than doing nothing as far as muscle and bone health. But really, if you really want to, strengthen your muscles and your bones and your bone density, you need to be doing some strength training. If you've followed us for any time at all, you should know we are very, very big proponents of strength training. That was our February challenge was all centered around strength training. So we definitely think that walking and other needs to be combined with strength training. And it's also good for your metabolic health. I mean, just moving, clearly you're going to be burning more calories moving than you would be just, sitting in a chair and watching TV. And it also does not stress the body like intense cardio. That's another way that I think NEAT is great for your metabolic health. Okay, so what about more strenuous cardio? I think probably most people, me included, for many, many years, when I thought about, trying to lose weight and get in shape, I just thought about running. I don't know why, but for me, I thought if you wanted to be in shape, you had to run. I honestly wish I never would have wasted any of my time running anymore now that I know what I know, but you don't need to. You definitely don't need to run to get in shape. It's more strenuous cardio is obviously going to be more stressful on your body in many different ways. You're going to release, it's going to give you more cortisol because of the higher intensity. It's also going to be harder on your joints. So it's obviously going to be more stressful. Okay, so this is the piece we kind of touched on at the beginning. Your body adapts very, very quickly to cardio and will burn far fewer calories when you keep doing the same thing over time. And that's why I like to use cardio as the very last lever, knowing that it's not some sort of long-term solution. So let me give you an example. If somebody said, hey, I'm going on a vacation in a couple months and I just really want to look great for this vacation, I would probably do as much as I could with that client, just with food, obviously strength training, giving them a step goal. But if they, were a few weeks away from their vacation and they were really like, hey, I really want to look good for this vacation, I don't care if I gain a few pounds back afterwards, that might be a great time to add in some cardio temporarily, knowing that your body is going to adapt. But, if you've got only a couple weeks and a goal that you're working towards, I would say that would be a great time to add in more cardio. I know Jo is training for another bodybuilding competition, and she's going to be ramping up her cardio for the short term, very temporarily. And she'll back off of that again after her show is over. But the problem with cardio is once you start doing it, your body wants to become efficient at that move. Your body doesn't know that you're trying to look good in a swimsuit. We say that a lot, that your body doesn't know you're trying to look good. Your body wants to survive. That is your body's only goal, is to survive and to reproduce. And so your body's going to adapt to this cardio and it's going to make you very efficient at it. And when we hear the word efficient, we usually think of that as a positive thing. But when it comes to our metabolism and cardio and things like that, efficient is not a good thing. It means that your body is not going to be burning as much energy AKA calories, when you do that activity, just because it's gotten very used to it. So if you do, let's say you start adding cardio and you do it for 4 weeks, you probably will burn quite a few calories at first. And it's great to use while working towards a short-term goal. But if you do that same cardio for, I mean, I'll say 6 months, but probably much less, your body is going to be burning so much less. Less than your watch might tell you, less than some calculator is going to tell you you're burning, because it's gotten very used to that activity. And so that's why I don't like to have people having a lot of cardio in their routine for the long term, because their body's just going to get used to it really quickly. Okay, NEAT, another reason we really like NEAT, it's just much more realistic to fit it in. You don't have to change your clothes. You can just go take a walk around the block, and pretty much, you know, unless you're wearing some fancy dress, you could probably go take a walk in whatever you happen to be wearing. Just put on some tennis shoes and go. And it's just much more realistic to fit in than saying, oh, I'm going to go to the spin class every day. That's just so much harder. Obviously is going to be much more time consuming to go somewhere, do some sort of cardio, change your clothes, leave, drive back home, whatever. Needs just so much more realistic, especially, I mean, everybody's busy, right? So especially if you're a busy person. And then finally, too much high intensity or medium intensity steady state cardio like jogging will actually inhibit fat loss. And you saw that with me in my pictures. I was doing all kinds of cardio, and it certainly wasn't helping me to get lean, that's for sure. So if you just do NEAT and weight training with very intentional nutrition, you can absolutely look amazing. You can look very toned. You can have that, what we call fitness model status look, without doing any cardio. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm not doing any cardio now, and I haven't for probably the last 2 years, ever since I had my knee issue started, and I look exactly the same as I did before. Okay, we hear this a lot. I'm just too busy to get all of my activity in. And I touched on this just on the previous slide. NEAT is very easy to fit in, and you can do it when you would typically be sedentary. So here are a few examples of where I personally fit in my NEAT activity. So if I'm on a phone call, whether that's for work or just talking to a friend or a relative, I just pace around. Instead of sitting in a chair talking, if I pace around on a 15-minute phone call, I can get a lot of steps in. I once had, I was kind of doing it as an experiment. I was on a really long work, it was a meeting that I was really just having to listen to. I wasn't taking any notes, and it was hours long. I don't remember. And I got all of my steps in for the day, just pacing around the room while I listened to this meeting. So if you have a meeting that you can do that, I would definitely recommend doing that. Now, if you're on video, I get it. You probably don't want to just be pacing around and having everybody watch you. But if you're just on the phone, pace around. If you know you're going to be calling a friend at a certain time, go outside and take a walk and talk to them while you take a walk outside. Another thing I like to do is if I'm going to be watching TV. Now at night, I like to be really lazy right before bed and watch TV laying in bed. But if I'm going to be watching something or even listening to a podcast, do some yoga. It's not super strenuous. It's really easy to fit that in, and it's better than just laying there watching TV. And then just be active with your family. You don't need to say, we're going to go for a walk. It can be, kicking the soccer ball around, or we like to play badminton, or even just playing yard games, just anything that means that you are moving instead of sitting still. So if you just kind of try to think of some of these sneaky ways to incorporate more activity, it's not even any extra time in your day. It's kind of just changing up the way you do things. And Joe and I, we both have full-time jobs, not this job. We both do work full-time. We run this business along with our amazing coaches. We would not be able to do this without our awesome coaches. We have families, and we still fit it in. And I say that because we're very intentional about what we do. That's how we fit it in. Okay, how much NEAT do I need to do? Anything that's more than you were doing is a great place to start. Like I said, if you were getting like 2,000 steps a day, shoot for 4 or 5,000 steps a day. Obviously our challenge, if you want to meet your 100 miles, you'll need to average about 7,000 steps a day. I think 10,000 a day is a really good stretch goal. And I think it's really doable, especially in the summer months. I know I've worked with a lot of our clients who in the winter, they've just said, it's really hard for me to get all of my steps in because it gets dark so early or it's just so ugly outside. And so we pull it back a lot of times for people in the winter. But in the summer, I think 10,000 is a really good stretch goal for people. Okay, so what really matters for weight loss? And I only have one bullet point here, and that is being in a caloric deficit. And that really truly is all that matters. How you get there, you can get there a couple of different ways. Obviously, you could add in more cardio. Your body will adapt quickly to it, but that is one way you could get in a calorie deficit. The best way I think to get there is by manipulating your food. But that's really truly the only thing that matters. Now, there's a lot of other factors that we work with our clients. I mean, most people don't just want to lose weight, they might think they do, but what they really want is a lot of women say they want that toned look, and the toned look is really achieved from putting on muscle and then having a healthy body fat percentage. And so there's definitely some other things to consider as far as really honing in a physique that you love. But if you purely just care about losing weight, the caloric deficit is the only thing that matters. And I know some people will say, well, I'm eating really low calorie and it's still not working. Here, I think that's my next slide. Okay, so how can I get in a caloric deficit? So, okay, we'll get into that low calorie thing here in just a second. You definitely want to prioritize your metabolic health, and we are very, very big on metabolic health, but that helps to make a caloric deficit much easier to achieve. You can be eating low calorie and not be in a caloric deficit, and I know that might sound really confusing, but we work with clients all the time who come to us and they say, well, I've been eating 1,200 calories for the last few years, but I haven't lost any weight. And in fact, maybe they're even gaining a little bit of weight. And the reason for that is your body will adapt eventually, just like it adapts to your cardio levels, it will adapt to how much food you are feeding yourself. And so if you have been eating 1,200 calories for, I would say more than 6 months, but definitely if you've been eating that for over a year, and we encounter people all the time who have been eating that way for years, your body has adapted 100%. And so even though you're eating very low calorie, you are not in a caloric deficit because your body has adapted and it is burning very little calories in everything you do, whether that's working out or whether that's just sitting around. Your body has gotten very efficient at burning calories in order to keep you alive. And so what we work with our clients who are in this situation to do is to get them to a spot where they can maintain their weight on much higher calories. So that way it's much easier to get into a calorie deficit. So a lot of I'll give an example. We've got several clients who came to us under eating. We worked with them to get their food up to a healthy spot. Once they're there for a couple of months and we think that their body can handle a calorie deficit, we will then cut their calories. And we have a lot of clients who are losing weight after going through this phase of priming their body for fat loss and repairing their metabolism. They're now losing weight, eating more than they were before they first came to us. That might sound crazy, but that's how it works. And we work with clients all the time to help us do that. The best way you can prioritize your metabolic health is don't diet too much. It's the worst thing that you can do for your metabolism. You need to be eating enough at least 80% of the year. If you want to diet, do it in as short amount of time as possible, and then be done and get back up to a healthy level. Another thing you can do is don't overdo cardio, like we talked about. Your body adapts so quickly to that. And so if you came to us saying, well, I'm running, 5 miles a day, well, we're not going to tell you to run 10 miles a day to lose weight. What you need to do is get your body used to not running 5 miles a day. So that way, again, you can be less efficient with how your body burns those calories. Another thing we like to have everyone do, of course, is strength training, and then just getting in general movement, that need activity that we've talked about. So nothing that is stressing your body, but it's still movement. And we talk about this all the time. I mean, you'll hear this over and over on our podcast and our blog, social media, the videos you can download from our website. You'll hear all about this if you want to dive into any of these topics further. Okay. That's all that I really have prepared for now. I have a few things I'll show here at the end, but does anybody have any questions before I move on? No questions. All right, does anybody struggle with getting in their steps or enough activity and want any suggestions? I can talk briefly about my own personal schedule and how I get all of my activity in. So usually this is just a typical day. I will usually wake up and lift weights in my basement, and just walking in between the, the squat rack and my dumbbells, I usually get in at least 1,000 steps just from doing that. And then I work and I sit at a computer, and I'm pretty sedentary, but if I am on a call, I will try to just, pace around when I can. And then over lunchtime, I try to do something that's active, just to get away from the computer, get some fresh air if it's nice out. And so I'll sometimes go for a walk. One day or sometimes 2 a week, I'll play tennis, and that's a really good way for me to get some steps in. And then in the evenings, if my kids are home not doing sports, we play things that are usually pretty active. My girls are gymnasts, and so we do gymnastics things. We play volleyball when it's nice out. Sometimes we go for walks, and so that's really just how I get my steps in. Weight training equal daily steps. I mean, it's definitely activity. I wouldn't necessarily count it as your steps. I would think of it as something totally separate. I mean, weight training, if you had to prioritize though, I would say always prioritize strength training over getting your steps in. But I would really consider them to be kind of separate. I would say, okay, I'm going to strength train this many days a week, and then I'm also going to shoot for this much activity. So that's how I think about them. I think about them totally separate, but it is still movement. It is still very healthy movement, and it does not stress your body in the same way that, let's say, HIIT training would. Any other questions? How do I find out what my best calorie count to be in a deficit? Okay, that's a lot trickier. It really depends on the person. That's definitely something we work with our clients on, and it really depends on a lot of different factors, like their activity level, what they've done in the past. And that can change over time. I mean, we've got clients who are overeating, and they're able to get right into a caloric deficit immediately. We have other clients who have been under eating, and we have to spend months just kind of repairing their metabolism first. And so some people are walking their food up, some people are walking their calories down. It really, really is very individual. So I really can't give any sort of numbers to say, oh, you should just be eating this. It can be very drastically different for any given person. I mean, I'll give myself as an example. So back when I was in my early 20s and making all of these mistakes, I thought that anything, if I ate over like 1,600 calories a day, that was bad. And so my body adapted to that. And I was maintaining a weight on 1,600 calories a day. Well, now I've learned a lot since then. And I really try to push my food as high as I can most of the year. And so now I'm maintaining my weight on 21-ish hundred calories a day. And so it's really, I would think of it as it's very elastic. If I want to cut, if I want to lose a few pounds, I'm going to have to cut back down. But because my calories are high now, I don't have to go super low in order to lose weight the way I used to have to do. So sorry, I cannot answer that. It's very, very individual.
This is Joe. I'll pipe in on that. I mean, one thing to think about, and that we are thinking about when we are calibrating things for clients, to get any sort of sustained weight loss. And I'm not talking about just, the pound moving down one week and then moving back up. Like if you are wanting to lose like 10, 20, 30 pounds, what we tell our clients is we have to have caloric runway with you. And that means really anywhere from 300 to 500 calories that we need to be able to cut from your current intake. So that's why when people come to us and they're like, I'm eating plenty, I'm eating 1,500 calories a day. No, we don't have any caloric runway with that person. So that's just something to think about. Like that's what you kind of got to calibrate towards. And so, that's why when we talk on our podcast, like we really need someone eating at the 1,800 to above 2,000 calorie level to be able to make any progress with them whatsoever. And that's why we have that at that, healthy caloric level.
Yep.
One, I was going to ask everyone, and I fell into this category. Do we have any cardio queens on the call that feel like are in disbelief that walking counts? That was me.
That was me. Totally. That was me
It's
for
like, I'm not going to
years.
bother to walk. I mean, I should be like, that doesn't count unless I'm like running or
Yep.
breaking a sweat or
Mm-hmm.
have to be wearing a sports bra. There's no way that walking could actually,
Mm-hmm.
but if you do the math, you actually will burn, you will be like, if that 30-minute little Peloton ride or jog that you do, you actually are getting in a lot more movement by walking the 7,500 steps or 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah. It's funny because I mean, I work out a lot, I lift, I walk, but I don't really sweat very often anymore. And I used to think, the best workouts were the ones where I was like drenched in sweat and I had done like super intense, cardio and I was drained afterwards. I never do workouts like that anymore. I really I don't sweat all that much in my workouts. A little bit, but nothing like I used to think I had to get in a good workout. Yep, HIIT is not necessary. If you have a bad knee, I would not do HIIT. I would cut it out completely. Or what I do, so I say I don't do any cardio. I sometimes do, and sometimes it's like maybe once a month when maybe my tennis club is on a break from their classes or something. I will do my cardio on the row machine. It's also, you can do a lot on a rowing machine or even like a stationary bike too. Sometimes I use my rower as like a really nice easy warm up before I lift, because it really it works your whole entire body more than just like walking or something would. Or you can do HIIT on the rower too. So if you really want to do a little bit of HIIT, you can. I would recommend doing the rower if you have knee issues, because that's what I personally do if I want to do HIIT. But you don't need to do any. I would say there's no reason to do any. If you are strength training and your food is on point and you are getting in activity through NEAT, we would never tell somebody, oh, there's no way you're going to lose weight without doing HIIT. Sometimes we use a little bit of HIIT. But if somebody says I can't do HIIT, I would say that's fine. We can get you to your goals without doing any HIIT whatsoever. I will say I like HIIT more than steady state cardio. So if I were to give somebody some cardio, I would rather give somebody 10 or 15 minutes of HIIT training over telling them to go jog for 30 minutes. Okay, any other questions? And if you think of some as we move on, that's fine, go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to talk really briefly about our metabolic makeover programs. With those, we will calibrate everything for you. So you're going to get your nutrition customized to you, your strength training plan, very customized to you, what equipment you have, what you're capable of doing, whether you do some cardio or movement, that will be customized to you as well. We also include lifestyle coaching, because a lot of people really need the support and accountability to change their lifestyle and their habits. But once you get all of those components working, you'll just feel so much better. Joe leads those accountability meetings. We've got usually do 2 a week. One is prepared content and the other is more of like an open Q&A. We've also got a Facebook group. You will have email support from your coaches if you have questions in between the weekly check-ins that you get with them. The costs are listed here, but you can also see those on our website. And if anybody is interested in joining, we are starting our next session in April. And then we've also got our podcast. It's called the Boost Your Metabolism After Age 30 podcast. I think Tracy accidentally got booted out. Whoops. Trying to let her back in. Okay. Okay, and I want to show a picture of one of our clients. So this is the kind of results that you can get by calibrating your nutrition and your exercise. So she started strength training last June. So the picture on the left is her in June. The picture in the middle was when she had actually already met her weight goal that she wanted to get to. So she basically did what we would call a cutting phase between the picture on the left and then the picture in the middle. She did a little bit of HIIT cardio, but not very much. I want to say she was maybe doing 20 minutes a week. Other than that, she was just lifting weights and getting in a step goal. And then the picture between the middle and the picture on the right, that was all her going through a reverse diet phase. So she really, really tightened up her body by adding in more food. We backed off all of her HIIT cardio. She hasn't done any HIIT cardio now in about 6 months, and she looks amazing. She still looks like that girl on the right there. And that is purely from a step goal, lifting weights, and intentional nutrition. So that's what I wanted to end with, just a real life transformation of somebody who is doing little to no cardio and how amazing she looks. So does anybody have any other questions before we wrap this up?
I have a quick one.
Sure.
When you're tracking your calories, is there any need to track your macros?
Yeah, I would. The main reason is that you want to make sure you're getting in enough protein and enough of the other 2 macronutrients as well. I know some people maybe are afraid to eat carbs. Some people are maybe afraid to eat too many fats. And so I would definitely say, yeah, calories are probably, if you only are like, I just want to track my calories, that's fine. That's a great place to start. But if you use an app like MyFitnessPal, that's our favorite, it's free, it's got all kinds of food in it. It's going to track your macros automatically for you also. So I would say, yeah, the most important reason to do that is to make sure you're getting in your protein.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other
Hey,
questions?
I'll
Yeah.
mention one other thing. Yeah, so we are, well, it officially starts next week, although I think you can start using it today since you're on the call and in the challenge, but we are having a flash sale. So all of our programs will be 5% off if you buy between now and March 15th, and you just use the discount code FLASH if you want that discount. And we are giving away, there's some bonus items in this round in the April session, which is we've paired up with a macros blogger, and you'll get like a menu, like a sample menu calibrated to your calorie count and that sort of thing. So figuring out the food will be a little bit easier. And then we're also doing a special workshop that will involve, we work with a personal stylist as well, and she's going to teach us how to go swimsuit shopping. Hoping to make that a little easier for everyone this spring. And she'll be doing a workshop on how to pick out a flattering swimsuit. So we have those extras this session.
Awesome. All right. If there's no other questions, I'm going to wrap this up. If anybody who's on here thinks of any questions, you can always message us on Facebook or email us and ask us those at a later time. All right. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great day.
Thanks.